In the following video, Maggie and I spoke extensively about the hidden dangers of the new background check. Much of what we discussed is in violation of the YouTube's new firearm policy, so we had to edit out about 10 minutes of this. You can see the complete unedited version on Patreon. That link is below.
This is my life. My life exists in paperwork. Brian's like, there is so much paperwork attached to this job. There really is. And so the new paperwork is available as of the 1st of February 2023. It will be mandatory use by April 1st of 2023. What this means for both sides of the counter: we got new forms. It's the same form you've always loved, hated, and
well, and there is a couple different things on here, and I noticed you highlighted them, of course.
There's quite a few different things on here.
And let's talk about this first one, because this is the one that concerns me the most. When I saw this, I knew exactly why they were asking this question, and it's the: do you reside within the city limits? Yes, no, or unknown. This is a big problem. What's your thoughts on that? Do you mind sharing what you think about that, or what is the issue there, man?
So do you reside within city limits? Certain cities have rules and regulations that make the ownership of specific firearms illegal. And so by checking this box, yes, no,
you're admitting
do I live within city limits, they're going to be able to, like, let's say you take possession of that firearm and you're not supposed to have it in the place where you live. They're gonna pull your sheet and go, oh, look, you own this. It's not legal here where you live. That's against the law. Now
you're a felon because you checked yes or no. Now, and I want to give a couple examples. Like Philadelphia is a great example of this, because Pennsylvania is a very pro-Second Amendment state. But once you go into Philadelphia, it's a whole different story. Once you cross that city limit sign, there's all sorts of bans on guns. And there's also sorts of restrictions on who can have them, where you can have them, how you can have them. So by checking, so if you're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and you check yes there, you just admitted that you're at least a felon against those city ordinances.
So yeah, once you live within city limits and admit that you own this firearm that you are adopting on this form and it's not legal, oops.
Yeah.
Oops. So they've also in here put more clarification for straw purchases. Do you intend to purchase or acquire any firearm on this form, or ammunition? Because in some states, the sale of ammunition.
Interesting, because I was wondering why that was different, but now I see why.
Illegal.
Yeah, it's because of the ammunition.
For sale or other disposition to any person described in question 21C through M. So in other words, they're saying, hey, are you really buying, this is your last chance, make sure you're telling us the truth here. Are you getting this for yourself, or are you buying this for
somebody in 21C through F?
Yeah, are you buying it for your brother? Right. Are you buying it for someone who has been potentially declared mentally defective? Are you buying it for someone who is indicted for a felony?
Well, and let's go back there, but it's really this interesting, or ammunition. And that's an interesting one, because
we don't have that rule yet.
Yeah, and growing up, I was, when I would go hunting with my friends, let's say, as a young man, sometimes my friend had the ammo. I don't have, well, I do have some ammo. Why don't you get, so we don't have to make a run to Walmart or something. So according to this, that now is illegal?
So sometimes for the sale, sharing, or distribution of ammunition or firearms to anyone who should not legally be able to obtain it.
I see. So, like, let's say you and I went hunting, and we both can legally obtain it. If you don't have ammo, and I say, "Oh, here, you can use some of my ammo," that's okay.
I should
as
be
long as you don't qualify under 21C.
Yeah, as long as I'm lawfully
C through L.
Yeah, legally able to obtain it myself.
Okay, because that's kind of that one gets me, because also
you're technically, I mean, you're whatever you're adopting and you're filling out this form for, they want it to be for you. They don't want you to be...
It's just adding that ammunition kind of leaves me scratching my head, just going, well, what exactly do you mean?
That's a rule, and some states are actually, there are compliances in some states where you actually have to pass a background check
for ammo. And that's what that is.
Ammunition.
Those poor states. It's those poor states. And honestly, I think the whole country is heading that way if we keep heading the same direction.
Stop it.
I'm sorry. So we won't talk about politics. What else you got here, Maggie? We'll go a different direction.
We don't want to do this.
No. We don't want to do this. All right, go ahead.
But this is where,
I always love that about you. We don't talk about politics here. I love that.
We don't want to do this.
No, we don't do that.
Do you intend to sell the firearm or the ammunition or anything to someone who is has felonies or other offenses punishable by imprisonment? So
term of 1 year.
Yeah, or
federal crime of terrorism
or drug trafficking.
So don't buy ammo for anybody getting out of prison, a federal terrorist, or drug trafficker.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah, or anybody that has any of that on their background. Really?
Now, for the record, I could confidently check yes on all these things.
I know.
But it is a strange way to word that.
Wait a minute. You want to confidently check no.
Well, I meant on those two right there.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
So do you? Yeah, your intent to purchase for someone who's not legally able to obtain anything is definitely, you're not intending to do that. And then, of course, the trick questions that everybody likes. It's always been like the last checkbox. Seems to be the trick
the one that
question.
Everybody messes up. Yeah. Leave it blank if you're a U.S. citizen.
Right. So now it's two that you'll have to leave blank on this
I would have
one.
been the first to fail here.
So if you're a U.S. citizen, leave this one, 21N.1 and 21N.2.
Okay, now what are the differences between it? Okay, so are you an alien who has been admitted to the United States under a non-immigrant? So you
used to have to answer yes or no to that one, whether you were a citizen or not.
So you just leave that blank?
Now, if you are an actual U.S. citizen, you may leave
those two things blank.
Both of those blank. In fact, that is specifically what they are telling you to do. But they don't tell you at the beginning of the question. They tell you at the end of the question. And I'm
a scanner too. I just scan.
I've seen this.
I scan and move on. Scan and move on.
It's not just you. I can tell you that I have myself done the same thing, as have so many of you wonderful, amazing human beings on both sides of the counter. We have a tendency to scan. We read the first part first, and then that doesn't apply to me. Check no. So you actually have to go slowly read through this particular one at that. And then the rest of it is more stuff for our side of the counter to comply with the 10-day transfer of firearms to individuals who are under the age of 21. So there is a 10-day waiting period. So there's the new piece
right there. Yeah, and I knew that one was coming, of course.
And then are noted
this is interesting. Okay, this is fascinating. I was a rough around the edges teenager.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. I had a juvenile record. I'm just being honest. I don't have an adult record, but I did have a juvenile record. Stuff I did when I was 14, 15 years old. But it says further investigation of possible disqualifying juvenile record.
Yes. So that 10-day waiting period is that.
So if I'm 21, my juvenile record could hinder me.
If you're under the age of 21.
I'm under the age of 21.
If you're under the age of 21, they will unseal your juvenile records.
Ouch. That's not right.
Look into you to make sure that you are going to be a qualified and capable individual to handle the responsibility of firearm ownership. So yeah, but let's think about this. There's a lot of people out there that have no permanent record on their adult record, but a juvenile record. Yeah.
Well, I don't have a permanent record on my adult record,
No,
but I
but-
did have a pretty interesting juvenile record for sure.
I'm sure
That's terrible.
I'm
I hate that. That's
absolutely-
awful because I was that guy. You know, that's I have a heart for people who had a hard time when they were teenagers and they're trying to turn their life around. You know? And that's just not right. That is not right. Because we all made decisions before we were 18 because we were children.
Yes.
And I didn't know that. This is quite terrible.
But the idea is that your children should know better. Children should know better. They shouldn't,
Well, as a parent today, I always kind of say, well, I'm not going to do what my parents did. So, my kids don't have a juvenile record. So I do know there's a lot of parenting in there. I was raised by wolves. So I was just a rough around the edges teen. When you're free to just run the streets, you do some terrible things.
Run rampant, you can make poor decisions
That's right.
very, very, very quickly.
That's awful. That seems unconstitutional. I can't think of what violation of the Constitution that's, but wait a second, I wasn't an adult.
Well, yeah, but they want to know that
Sure.
whoever is purchasing these is going to handle them responsibly. And
I do understand. I mean, there's a lot of young men and women that are just off the chain.
Yeah, but this is why that 10-day waiting period exists, so that they can check and make sure.
I bet those are hard to get to. Too,
you haven't had a history.
Records. So let me ask you this, because let's talk about this if you don't mind, because this is still on the delay, and I saw this last time, but I don't necessarily. If I understand this right, it says notice of additional delay of transferee under 21 years of age received on blank date and may be transferred on blank date. Because ultimately if I understand that right, because normally before this, there was a period of time, but now that's kind of void for people 21 under?
Okay, yeah. So they're going to be subject to that mandatory 10-day delay. And on our side of the worksheet, we have to mark down the communications we are receiving from the FBI, because this is the FBI's background check that we are using. It's the FBI NICS system, National Instant Criminal Background Check. So unfortunately, instant is a theory. I think it's
the
not
government
reality.
is it instant?
I know it's not instant at all. But so we will have to fill out all this information about communication and how we are receiving this communication, when we received it, and if we are following any additional rules and regulations that the Brady law would allow us to transfer on such and such date. They'll have all that information for us. We will be able to give that information to the customer as well. It's like, okay, hey, mandatory delay. You knew this was going to happen. Here's the date they have set forth to be you're good to go. Your background check can finish sooner. It can. Your background check can always finish sooner. When you are handed a delay, there is a chance that it will finish before the waiting time period is up. And if that happens, your dealers, a lot of chances, especially the small places like us, will call you if it finishes early and be like, hey, you're back. It's adoption day. Come take your baby home.
That's awesome. Now, if you don't mind me asking on this one where it says no response was provided with it, so if there is not a response within 10 days, are you able then to...
Yeah, we are able to transfer the firearm. And the same thing is applied to, this was even before they set forth that 10-day waiting period.
And that's why I was kind of wondering, does this change that?
So
apparently it does not.
No, this has always been there, no response provided within the set amount of time, and you are free and clear to transfer that firearm. This is different for different states and different business entities that have businesses in multiple states, because they will have to follow the strictest state rules in which they have a business setting. So if there is a chain that you really appreciate buying firearms from because of their prices or something, and they sell or distribute in California, and they sell or distribute in your delightful state of freedom and joy, then they're going to follow the stricter policy, and so maybe their rules for that business aren't going to be as nice as some of the other gun stores that you deal with. Like, they may actually not transfer you the firearm if they don't get a response or something.
But you could. You could.
Some places will be able to have slightly more lenient rules on this than others, but that's just your state and where you're doing business. That's
as you see, I mean, there's so many states that just are,
and cities now.
Suffering. Yeah, it's just awful. Well, Maggie, gosh, thank you so much for this information. I bet it's hard to kind of deal with this all day, every day, 7 days a week, but we appreciate you sharing it with us. Thank you so much.
It's cool people on this side of the counter that make it so bearable. So I'm happy to be here for you guys.
Good. And I would like to add just at the end of this that there was some things we talked about, especially under the under 21. There was some dialogue we had that clearly isn't going to be able to be posted on YouTube. So if you want to see the full unedited version of this thing, because there is some information we just can't, for YouTube policy, we can't put it there. So that'll be on Patreon. But Maggie, gosh, thank you so much for this. We always appreciate you here at Gunners, and welcome us in and just sharing your wealth of information.
We appreciate you, Mark. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for going over this for people to understand a little bit better. And can't wait to see you guys next time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.